So what else did you want to talk to us about today?
I think, the staff at Kaingora are overpaid. Some of the staff, well, a lot of the staff. And generally, as a taxpayer, we wouldn't mind if the delivery was there. So currently, I believe the average salary of KO might be sitting at somewhere around 120, 150,000.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but that is sort of
We're not going to quote you on anything, mate, apparently.
the that is probably close. I mean, the CEO top dog gets paid over $500,000, I think, something like that. That was out in the media a couple of years ago. So in terms of the average salary, the perks they get, flexibility to work from home, I think these things really need to be considered. If the people are not delivering, then the staff numbers need to be reduced, and let it out to the private sector to sort out. Or if you're employing people to do it, then you need not employ so many consultants for various things in terms of delivering homes, which is what the outcome is. Um, I come back to the private sector having the efficiencies to deliver properly. Why can't a government agency do that? Um, that's an unanswered question. And some control on salaries and control on or measurable deliverables,
Is the
something
key.
measurable. Their KPIs need to be
Measurable
measurable.
deliverables is the key.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Go on then. Tell us anything else that you wanted to jump into. What else did you want to talk about today?
I think, seeing as I'm anonymous at this point, I would also like to talk about council a little bit.
Yep.
Council also similar. I suppose it's a problem with many public sector organizations. One bugbear for me would be if you're doing a development and you need to connect to the infrastructure that's around your site, which is public infrastructure owned by Auckland Council.
You get an EPA, don't you?
You get an EPA, then you need to
Yeah.
go through this process of getting your neighbor's consent.
Right.
So the neighbor can kick up all sorts of fuss and not allow you to connect to this infrastructure, which is something that's owned by the ratepayer. And you go through this whole rigmarole of getting them to sign and say, they consent to it. And again, my question would be why? That they don't own it. Whatever work happens on their property will be reinstated. So council set up a little legal team to deal with this issue, which, you pay lots of money to them to try and sort out, which they then go ahead and engage consultants and other consultants. These consultants just shuffle papers and keep sending letters to the neighbors. Nothing gets resolved. Months go by. Your project, meantime, is suffering. You can't get your consents. Costs escalate. And all these issues come into play. So, a simple solution for that would be to just, have a legal challenge or something that they actually can't. They bought the property when the pipe was already there.
Yeah.
So now they're obstructing it because someone wants to do a development or asking tons of money for it. That's just not something that I think is acceptable in my book.
Yeah. So it's just to connect to public infrastructure that's under somebody's property. That's what we're referring to here.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Interesting. Yep. Okay. So what else is broken in the construction industry?
I could go on all day, but I don't think I have time.
Fair enough. Right. Let's touch on a few other topics that are critically broken, in your opinion, in the construction industry in New Zealand.
In terms of general construction, no, I'm not going to say that because we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Mainly, I suppose, the public sector is
Yeah.
what I want to talk about.
Yeah. Let's talk about RMAs. What are your views on RMAs?
I think RMAs has created this thing which is basically a big roadblock to many, many projects, and sometimes for very simple things. I've known of projects that have been stuck for 3, 4, 5 years going through the RMA process and just shuffling back and forth. So with the RMA being reduced or removed altogether, that's a move in the right direction. There still are controls, so it's not as if it's just all going to be removed. But the RMA is something that has actually set us back quite a bit since it was initiated, and it took a good number of years to realize the damage that it's actually done in terms of progress and construction.
So the RMA is removed now?
I believe it is.
Right,
There's
okay.
certain aspects of it still there, but by and large, it's either removed or in the pipeline to be removed.
Interesting. Can I get your views on the impact the construction accords have had since being instated in, I don't know, how many years ago? 4 years ago? 5 years ago? Yeah. So what impact have they had on the industry from your perspective?
The construction sector accord, good intentions. However,
Good
I think,
intentions, really good intentions. Yep.
in terms of non-price attributes for tendering, those sorts of things are only just beginning to come in. Where tenders are called and you have price and non-price attributes, the pricing used to be number one. It used to be maybe 70% on price, 30% on non-price. That's slowly shifting down to 50-50 or even less. So you probably can win a job not purely based on price. So that's a good thing. But by and large, the other things that are happening in the sector, constructor sector accord, is not that desirable. The outcomes which it's mandated basically isn't being followed as such.
Right. Interesting.
I think we need to cut this out because we already talked about this.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
There is a section in the
construction
RMA you
sector,
need to.
yeah.
Construction sector. Don't talk about the phone call. Let's just talk about everything else that's wrong. What change are they not influenced or have influenced either?
Yeah. Okay. So I think the construction sector accord, some of the changes that we were expecting that was going to come through it haven't quite eventuated.
How so?
Things like fairness, non-price attributes for tendering, social outcomes. These are all buzzwords that are on the accord page. But if you pick up any large contract and have a look through how the contracts get awarded, these are basically tick boxes. No one then monitors them, that you are actually following your social procurement strategies and seeing it through for Maori Pacifica and various other things, environment, sustainability. It effectively is a tick box exercise to try and basically meet the criteria. But the idea of the accord was fairness, and the implementation stage is not really being monitored. And when you do find that it's unfair, there's really not much you can do about it at this current time. So all in all, it is a step in the right direction. Various presentations get done year on year, but yet to see the full effect of it in practice.
Yep. So we're not seeing the full impact the accords have had since being instated 4 years ago.
Yeah. So for the last 4 years, it's sort of slowly started gaining traction. A lot of companies came on board, etc. Even government agencies came on board, but the strategies that the accord is directing isn't flowing on through to the coalface in terms of tendering.
Could you give me an example?
Yeah, sure. Well, some of the other things I suppose that hasn't quite come through is fairness in procurement.
Yep.
It has to be fair across the board. Fairness meaning the contractors are selected from a level playing field. Right now, contracts are being awarded two favourites, I suppose, in a lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And there's really no measure of how this is being done, and who's being awarded these contracts. So I think I suppose, some control on that and some transparency about, especially for private sector, doesn't really matter, but in terms of government procurement, it should be really transparent. Project value, procurement method, who was awarded it, and who are the other people on the panel that have missed out. Maybe they get a chance the next time around if they were second or third. Don't see that happening in practice.